The 60s collection has always been Glashütte's playground for being a little quirky, taking design cues from the watches they could have made, were it not for the happenings of post-World War II Germany. This year's Glashütte Original 60s Chronograph Annual Edition is a little different from what we've become accustomed to, though the main inspiration is still the Spezimatic model from the 1960s, including its funky space-age numerals and engraved stick indices. Alongside the regular production offering, Glashütte has become known for the vibrant textured dials that coincided with each annual edition released thus far, but this has been toned down drastically for 2023. The overall texture follows suit of previous annual editions, sporting an irregular engraved pattern that Glashütte make with vintage tooling. Unlike those models, the 60s Chronograph Annual Edition 2023 features a subtle grey colouring. Just like the Spezimatic, the dial is also domed, sloping downwards at its edges, the effect strengthened by the smoky gradient darkening towards the edges. This is also perhaps the most appropriate design to make use of Glashütte's script logo. Taking a closer look at the dial, we can explore the gold highlights chosen for the indices and hands. It's a bit of an odd choice considering the main color is grey, but it also kind of works. It's sort of a warm grey, helped by the equally warm tones of the shiny gold appliques. That's not the only curious thing about the indices, as they're neither applied nor printed on the dial. Making the most of its dome surface, they're actually engraved, tributing a unique visual element taken straight from the Spezimatic. One area where I do wish Glashütte added a bit more oomph is the handset. It's pleasant enough, and the curved tips are a nice attention to detail, but the shape and finish aren't the most inspired. Another detail is revealed in the oversized subdials flanking either side of the pinion. At first glance, they seem to just have a matte finish, but there's actually a very fine azurage engraving that results in the moirette pattern you see picked up by the camera. On the wrist, the 60s collection always reminded me of a flying saucer, or perhaps the smoothest, most stone-skipping capable pebble you can think of. Now, it's not exactly a small watch, with a 42mm diameter, 48.5mm lug-to-lug, and a thickness of 12.4mm, though I think most average wrists will be content with its proportions. While it is a chronograph, the 60s collection isn't exactly sporty. Glashütte Original leave that to the CQ collection. These dressier connotations then surely play into the fully polished case finish. Its design isn't overly complex, and there are no sharp angles. I do wish there was a highlighting facet or two on the lugs. I know I just said the 60s isn't really sporty, so what is it doing fitted on an unlined fabric strap? That's a fair point. It does lend the watch a sportier feel than it would normally have, and it kind of works. Having said that, if you're not a fan, the 20mm lug width will do wonders for aftermarket strap options. Finally, we've got the caliber 3934 that powers the 60s chronograph, which Glashütte Original calls their manufacturing movement. To avoid any confusion from nomenclature, the situation is this. The 3934 is a modular chronograph, using Glashütte Original's 3922 time-only movement as a base, to which they fitted Dubois de Praz chrono module. The result is a 4Hz 40-hour power reserve package with some lovely skeletonization work on the 21-carat rotor, and fitted with a swan neck regulator. One thing that always stood out to me with the 60s collection, and the larger chronograph in particular, is how small the movement looks when viewed through the caseback. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this, though it does play into how the 60s wears. Remember my previous pebble comment? That's thanks to the dome sapphire crystal caseback, a rare feature in any watch, making for a very comfortable on-wrist experience. I'm a huge fan of the typeface of the original Spezimatic and the new 60s, as it's a fitting tribute to an underappreciated era of German watchmaking. While this new design is a departure from the vibrant norm, it's a welcome one. Variety is the spice of life after all. The Glashütte Original 60s Chronograph Annual Edition 2023 is available now from Glashütte Original boutiques and select retailers for a limited time, priced at $13,550 Australian dollars. Do you wish Glashütte continued the theme of colorful dials, or is this a fun new direction for the brand? Let us know in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe for more content like this.